rides his black steed through the countryside, and whenever he stops, a mortal man dies. He's the angel of death and worthy of dread, dressed all in black and lacking a head. In his left hand is a spine that he'll use as a whip, in his right hand a scythe that will cut to the quick.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey everybody.
So this is a special edition. It's still one of our episodes for the season, but since we are so close to Hallows Eve, and we figured get you guys a little something extra, so to speak. And this topic is it's a really cool one because there's so much mythology behind it, and it's not just one country. We'll get into a lot of that, but it's pretty much kind of a worldwide kind of mythology, for lack of better words.
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah, now it is, right. But just kind of kicking things off, if you've seen this thumbnail, you obviously know what it's about. We're calling this the Dullahan, but some people know it by another word too, or another moniker, and we're going to get into this right now. So the legend of the Dullahan comes from Irish mythology, and most of us know him as the Headless Horseman. He's a horseman with no head.
I know you're through that
I couldn't
at
help
some
myself,
point.
right? I gotta get focused again. In Irish legend, he is supposed to be the embodiment of Celtic god Crom Duff, which means black crooked one. He was known as a pagan chieftain or deity that reigns over the legion of Fae. Now, Fae is the Celtic way of saying fairy,
Fairies,
right? Yeah,
like
so
fairy
fairies.
world. Yeah, they've got fairies for multiple things.
Right.
Yeah.
And they take it very, very seriously.
Yes.
So it's a true thing. But King Tigerman, which I'm hoping that's the correct way to pronounce that, but a king of Ireland long ago in an era when human sacrifice to the gods was believed to be a popular ritual, worship Crom Duff. Now, obviously, there's a lot of cultures that did do this, so it's not like, it's the only culture out there that did it, but it's a bit drastic. But anyway, Crom Duff demanded human lives every year to be sacrificed, and in his name and the method of sacrifice, wait for it, he asked for was decapitation. That's a heck of a demand to put on people, right? Bad enough you got to kill them. Now it's, Crom Duff had a battle with St. Patrick, where he eventually was banished to Dunbriste, or Dumbriste. Not sure exactly what the pronunciation there is. It's where it said St. Patrick also drove the snakes away from Ireland. So Dumbriste was separated from the mainland by St. Patrick driving his crozier into the ground. Dumbruf is a deity associated with death, seeking out humans that are near death and transports them to the underworld.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the legend / background. I find it very interesting because it's
All I could picture, like in my mind, was Gandalf with his staff.
Yeah.
Like, you shall not pass.
right, but somehow with Christopher Walken's head or something. No, but that'd be St. Patrick. But never mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something else. But yeah.
Like, got all the snakes and put all the evil away.
Shoving them. You cannot come here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So, in the 6th century, when Christianity came to Ireland, these sacrificial rituals were condemned as Christianity grew in popularity, and they stopped altogether, which that does make sense. This was when the story of the Dullahan first became prevalent, as Irish people believed that Crom Duff took this physical form in order to continue getting the sacrificial souls that he called for. Yeah.
Tough stuff.
Yeah, that's no levity in that one.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's multiple descriptions of how he is apparently seen.
Right.
Okay, so just stick with us here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, from what I understand, the Dullahan, he rides a jet black horse, always, with flames shooting from its eyes. But sometimes the horse can also be headless as well.
So, Headless Horseman, Headless Horse.
Yes. Okay.
Jeez.
Now, he is always headless,
Right.
like a headless rider. Some stories suggest that he was a soldier in a previous life that lost his head, and he is eternally riding looking for it. But I feel like that's something we're going to talk about here in just a little bit.
Sure.
That came later.
Okay.
These weren't the beginning stories about him being a soldier.
Right.
Other stories say that he rides his horse holding his head in his hand. Sometimes it's under his arm. Sometimes it's up in the air.
Okay. So he's like riding with it like
Riding,
this?
yeah. But sometimes it's under, like,
He's
he's
a heck
holding
of a
it like
horseman.
this. Yeah. And he's bitter from his mortal death, and he searches for souls to take it with him to the afterlife. So if I gotta die, you gotta die.
Right. Pretty vengeful.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a headless horseman. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, if mine got my head cut off, I wouldn't be very happy either.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope I wouldn't be around after something like that. But yeah,
Well, no.
sure.
So there's another way he can be seen, which is just terrifying. I mean, the first is terrifying, but this is worse. So he can also be seen riding a carriage made of coffins, tombstones, and bones, and it's pulled by 6 black horses. And the horses run so fast and ferociously that fire shoots from their nostrils and their hooves as they hit the ground.
Yeah, I got to admit,
Can you
that's pretty
imagine?
cool.
Well, it is for a fake movie, but not in real life.
No.
No.
If I saw that,
like that,
I would soil myself and there would be a lot of issues. Yeah.
Now, the Dullahan always wears a long black cloak that flows behind him as he rides. If he is carrying a head, it is said to be covered in rotting flesh, and it gives off a strong odor of rotting cheese.
Awesome.
The eyes are lit up with fire, and they dart back and forth looking for victims. And he can also be seen wielding a whip of a human spine.
Oh, that's freaky. So you can imagine.
No.
First of all, even the thought of seeing something like that to begin with, that's scary enough.
Yeah.
But to have a spine of human bones coming at you, yeah, that's what nightmares are made of. That's nightmare fuel. So the Dullahan appears after sunset, riding through towns and villages. It is said if you look at him, you will immediately be blinded, and he will use the human spine to whip your eyes out and throw blood into them.
Don't look at him, basically.
No. Yeah. But by the way, if you're still conscious and he's like there, you already get an award. So just don't look at the guy.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be looking.
No. When the Dullahan stops riding, he calls out the name of the person whose life he is to take. That human soul must go with him. There's no defying the call of death. The Dullahan can only call out one name per ride he takes.
Yeah, so from what I understand, he's not allowed to speak. The only word he's allowed to speak is the name of the person he's calling.
Well, that's awfully,
to die, basically.
It's awfully generous of him.
And he only gets one each time he rides. So every time he arises, he takes one soul.
That's such a comforting thought.
Well, at least he's not taking 15 people at the same time.
What if he messes up the person's name?
I mean,
back then there was only John Smith.
In Ireland?
Well, that's true. That would be something totally different.
No.
I would imagine Colin something, or I don't know what prevalent Irish names
You're
were. You're
fishing here.
I don't know. I'm just saying, if he messes up, that's going to be awfully bad. I mean, anyway, the only thing that can frighten him is precious metal that can be thrown on the ground and cause his horse to stop in their path and turn and flee. That's interesting. So metal. During the time these stories were popular in Ireland, most families were likely to possess gold. So they would keep it handy if the Dullahan were to call upon their house. So they're just walking around the gold.
Well, yeah. I mean, they probably had coins and stuff is what they're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. A necklace is what I'm guessing. I know I saw something about gold pins. So I don't know if that meant for the gentlemen that wore certain suits and stuff, they had pins.
Okay.
To pin things up. I don't really know what that referred to, but
well, that seems kind of. First of all, I don't know if gold had the same value that it has today that it would have had in Ireland at that time. Oh yeah, maybe more so. But it seems to me if you were.
But if you think about it, all of these stories, even with vampires,
Yeah.
They always taught like the iron cross, stuff like that, always wards off evil. There's always something with each one of these things that is supposedly,
Well, yeah.
keeps them away.
It's almost like alchemy. They want to
Mm-hmm.
find a way to make gold, and they use different metals and metallurgy.
And gold with Ireland has a very significant,
Sure.
we did the episode about leprechauns.
Right.
That's all about getting the leprechauns gold. It's high priority over there. Maybe they wanted the gold to keep the Dullahan away. I don't know.
Well, if you were the very entrepreneurial type, wouldn't you dress up as this guy? And
Well, I don't know.
I mean, they're
It'd be
throwing
hard to
gold
pull.
down.
Well, yeah.
Well, they're told not to look at him.
Well, the thing is though, I think when they throw it down, he's supposed to just disappear. And if you're not really him, how are you just going to disappear into thin air?
Yeah, but it's a self-fulfilling thing because they're also not supposed to look at him. So you could just say
They're not
disappeared
supposed to, but if you're in fear of getting your eyes ripped
by human spy. Yeah, you're
or
right.
blood thrown at,
Splitting hairs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. So there have been a few sightings,
Okay.
a
Interesting.
couple that I found, and these are, older sightings, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this man named W.J. Fitzpatrick. There's an Irish name
That's a
for you.
very fine
Mhm.
Irish name. Yeah.
And he was a storyteller from the Mourne Mountains in County Down. And these are his words. So, quote, I seen the Dullahan myself, stopping on the brow of the hill between Bryansford and Moneyscalp, late one evening, just as the sun was setting. It was completely headless, but it held up its own head in its hand, and I heard it call out a name. I put my hand across my ears in case the name was my own, so I couldn't hear what it said. When I looked again, it was gone. But shortly afterwards, there was a bad car accident on that very hill, and a young man was killed. It had been his name that the Dullahan was calling. So that's a little interesting.
That is interesting.
And this is like the most noted account
Okay.
because this guy was famous,
Right.
So we know for sure that he actually said it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
And another thing that we didn't really bring up is, which I want to do an episode on this separately, is they have the Banshee.
right.
So the Dullahan is very much so related to the Banshee, but he seems to be more sinister than what the Banshee is.
Okay. Well, yeah. Considering he's basically on a vengeful ride to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, he's definitely sinister. It's just, it's so wild to think that there'd be any kind of real sighting of this that, that has some kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, you never know. That's the thing. That's why we do this podcast, because you can discount these things
Yeah.
very quickly.
I know.
But we don't live in Ireland.
No, we do not.
We don't live in these other countries. To be like, oh, that doesn't exist. They can say the same thing about the things we have.
And do. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bigfoot. What?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
ridiculous. You guys are stupid.
Yeah.
So we can't necessarily discount it. Now, I'm of course more leaning toward this thing doesn't exist. It's more mythical.
Yeah, sure.
But you never know.
No, you're right. You don't know. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of myths, a lot of, lore comes from just a monochrome of real things. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So another sighting, a man was on his way home one night between Roundstone and Ballyconney. I'm hoping that's right.
Ballyconnelly.
Ballyconnelly?
Is how I think you say it. Mhm.
Okay. It was just getting dark, and then all of a sudden, he heard a sound of a horse hooves pounding along the road behind him. I'll get it right, guys. Don't worry. Looking around, he saw the Dullahan on his charger. Now, charger, I would imagine, is a
His
horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hurling towards him at fair speed. With a loud shout, he made to run, but the thing came on after him, gaining on him all the time. In truth, it would have overtaken him and carried away had he not dropped a cold-headed pin from the folds of his shirt on the road behind him. There was a roar in the air above him, and when he looked again, the Dullahan was gone.
So see, there's that reference to the golden pin from the
Yeah.
shirt. So somehow I don't know. You're a guy. What do you use pins for?
I mean, I'd like to say right, but nowadays, but yeah, I mean, I would have carried a pen to write a check or
No.
any.
They're not talking about like an ink pen. He's
Oh.
talking about like
Oh,
a pen in your
okay.
Seriously?
Hey, I was trying to stay with it there, but I guess I just didn't.
From the folds of his shirt.
Oh, okay. So like maybe cufflinks.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that makes more sense. It's a lot better than a pen.
I'm sorry, everyone. We're getting him there.
What are you gonna do?
Okay, so I mean, those are really the only two that I could find. That now, obviously, if you're from Ireland, and you have stories from maybe your grandparents or great grandparents or parents, or you've seen it yourself, please contact us, write us, put in the comments, because I'm very curious to know how many sightings there actually are.
Right, and this is just the trappings of a madman. What I'm saying here, but there could be some stuff that has got some validity to it.
Yeah.
So if you're in Ireland, or if you visited Ireland, or you have any kind of sighting or something that you've heard or something that you think may have been, like Nicole said, just reach out to us.
So the legend of the Dullahan has evolved, obviously, from the original Irish myth, but it was made most famous to the world by the short story written by Washington Irving in 1820 titled The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, yeah.
Which takes place in America, and it tells of a Hessian soldier who lost his head in the American Revolution and rose from his grave during Halloween to search for it.
Yeah.
And that's what most people recognize as the Headless Horseman.
Sure.
Which is what I wanted to, but I wanted to go back to the original.
Yeah.
Which is where this came from. Okay.
Right.
Now, he's also found in several German stories. So in the Tales of the Brothers Grimm, they have something. And there's also another tale of a Headless Horseman who they blows a horn, I guess, to warn huntsmen not to ride or they will die.
Well, that's weird. Kind of like a very gothic Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So there's that.
Wow. Okay.
And I found this one interesting because, coming from Ireland, I was like, surely there's something in Scotland, possibly
Celtic,
Wales,
sure.
England, that have the same thing. So the only thing that I found, there is a legend from Scotland of Owen the Headless, is what they call him.
Yeah.
And it speaks of a man of Clan MacLean of Lochbuie. In battle, he had the top of his head sliced off, but he managed to mount his horse, but as he rides off, he slumps and dies. Today it is said that whenever a clan member of Lochbuie MacLean dies, that the presence of the Headless Horseman is felt and the clattering of hooves is heard. So it's more like he's coming back in a nice way to take his clan members to the other side.
Sure.
So I kind of like that one better.
Yeah, that one's cool. I mean,
that's less scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary enough to have your top of your head cut off,
Well,
but
yeah. But those tough Scots,
That's right. They are very tough.
I've got that in my blood.
And I do too.
Yeah.
No, that's a pretty cool story.
I don't know that I could do that, but
no, you cut the top of this head off, I'm down.
Yeah,
We're done.
yeah.
We're done.
But I kind of like that story, and so, finding that was kind of cool. But it seems to resonate more in Ireland.
Yeah,
obviously for where it came from, but now it's so big in the U.S.
Of course,
because of the Sleepy Hollow.
Right.
So since then, we've got several things. There was a silent film made in 1922 called The Headless Horseman with Will Rogers and Lois Meredith.
Okay.
And it was shot in the Hudson River Valley, close to where the town of Sleepy Hollow is.
All right. Okay. Which is interesting because Hudson River Valley.
Yeah.
There's if you guys don't know, we've got a video that covers this for UFO sightings. There's a lot of
weird stuff.
A lot of weird stuff that happens out there.
But, I took a look at it. There was actually like kind of a YouTube video with the silent film, and obviously it's very old.
Right. And you would expect that.
And, it's got the music playing with the black and white video. And I watched part of it. Now, the Headless Horseman doesn't show up till like almost the very end.
Right.
Chasing Ichabod Crane. But it was interesting how they did it. Like, I was really like, how are they going to pull this off? But it looked to me like they just had the cape over the guy's head and had him riding. But I was reading that they did like a double exposure type thing.
Double exposure.
Back then to make it him look like otherworldly. So it was really interesting. I kind of like looking at
I remember
that stuff.
I walked in when you were looking at that, and yeah, they just really exposed it to a point where you really just look like a silhouette, really, didn't it?
Well, no, it was better than that, but I don't know. I think it kind of like covered up the fact that they just had it on top of his head, you know?
Right.
Because they're, you know, obviously back then they couldn't do much else.
Right.
But I thought that was kind of cool.
No,
and I
it's
think
inventive.
it pretty much stuck to the story of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, like Washington Irving's, you know, book. But there's also was a Disney film, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad in 1949, which was an animated film, you know, for the children.
Yep.
Okay.
For the kids.
And then in the 1980s, I guess there were some Japanese video games, and I don't know how to say this, so it's Megami Tensei and Final Fantasy 3 that there was like a Headless Horseman in those games.
I remember that, actually.
See, I don't remember that at all.
I kind of have a vague remembrance of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, my favorite, and my favorite movie to watch every October.
It is, guys.
Before Halloween. I've already watched it this year.
Yep.
Is the 1999 movie Sleepy Hollow by Tim Burton with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci.
So, the thing I like the most about that movie is, and if you haven't watched it, spoiler, but Christopher Walken plays a Headless Horseman.
Yes, he does. The Hessian soldier.
And in my mind, I keep wanting him to, you know, when they're getting ready to do the deed to him and cut his head off, like wait for him to turn and go, it's all wrong. You're talking to me all wrong here, you know, and turn around and like give him the what for. So it's like, it's hard to buy.
Well, he doesn't speak at all.
No, he doesn't. Not one word.
Not one word.
But, and I think that's probably why they used him, because, you know, if Christopher Walken talks and he's a Headless Horseman, it's a totally different movie.
Yeah, you've just lost us.
You're right. I've been riding around this forest for a while now. You know, it just makes sense. So.
Yeah. Oh, but I love it, and I love Johnny Depp as an actor, and I like the way Tim Burton makes his movies.
Yeah.
And you know, they changed a few things from the story, but I think they stuck to most of it. That obviously, Ichabod Crane is actually a like a school teacher.
Yep.
In the original short story.
Mm-hmm.
In this, he's a constable, so he comes to Sleepy Hollow to investigate all the deaths and everything. But I just love it.
Well, it's so well shot, and the artistry. I mean, if it's a Tim Burton film, you know you're getting, you know, great cinematography, and you know, especially when it comes to a movie with this kind of, you know, subject matter. It's supposed to be gothic. It's supposed to be, you know, so it just fits perfectly for him. Yeah.
And then there were some movies that followed this that I just glimpsed at because I could not stand to watch another minute of it.
Yeah.
So there was a movie made in 2000 called Sleepy Hollow High, and I don't really know what the point of the movie was. So we'll just leave it there.
Oh,
and
boy.
then there was a 2007 movie called The Headless Horseman, and it took place in Wormwood Ridge. Once again, I wasn't going to torture myself.
Yeah.
And then there was another movie in 2007, which is not named The Headless Horseman, but I want to mention it because it's like a take on that. And that would be Ghost Rider.
Right.
With Nicolas Cage. Except he's a leather-wearing, riding the motorcycle, you know. And I think it's got to be based on that,
I think there's some looseness to that. So it's a Marvel comic, and Stan Lee, you know, I'm sure there was some kind of inspiration drawn on it.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, there's no way to know for sure. But Ghost Rider, by character, he goes and he saves people from, you know, evil things and takes their soul and stuff like that. So he does, in a way, go through like a revenge ride. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. And if you haven't seen the movie, which is still, you know, it's got Nick Cage. Nick Cage is a good actor, but, you know, he's Nick Cage. So, but
and he's not really headless, but wasn't there a part in the movie where his head comes off?
Yes.
Or he throws it
he
or something?
He throws it to him, then it does, you know. No, that was in Sleepy Hollow. I can't remember if it falls off or not.
I think it does at some point.
Either way, it was a cool movie, but the best part I like the most is when and this is spoiler alert, this is an old movie, so you haven't seen it, you deal with it. But there's a part where Sam Elliott is shown to be kind of a caretaker, and he kind of takes the Nicolas Cage character under his wing. And eventually you find out that this was a ghostwriter from way in the past. So he's like, he jumps on a horse, and the horse has like fire shooting out of it, and when it runs in flames. It is the coolest freaking thing.
It is, and that's why it reminded. I think they've had to have taken that off of
I'm sure in some way, shape, or form there was. Yeah.
And there was another movie called The Headless Horseman. You think they'd come up with something else?
Yeah, really reaching there, Hollywood.
In 2022, and I do not recommend it. I just watched the trailer, and it's not even a resemblance of what, it's like one of these new, bloody type of
slasher
horror
film
movie. Yeah. And it didn't look to me like there was even a horseman in it. So I would just...
They just could have called it the slasher film.
Say avoid that one. So if you want to watch a good movie, do Sleepy Hollow by Tim Burton. That's my favorite for sure.
Agreed.
Now there is, and I mentioned this just a little bit ago, there is a town in New York called Sleepy Hollow. It's a really tiny little town. I think it's only got like 10,000 residents or so. Yeah. But it kind of immortalizes the short story of Washington Irving.
Sure.
So they very much so embrace that.
Right.
Now, I know there's like a bridge there.
Yeah.
That they call the Sleepy Hollow Bridge. It's supposedly the horseman's supposed to ride over, and they've got a little plaque up. I know. And I think they've got a statue of, I think, the horseman.
Okay.
They're somewhere in the town, and it's located 25 miles north of New York City.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's along the eastern shore of the Hudson River.
Gotcha.
But it's like one of those like upstate little, towns that you imagine in your head, basically.
Sure.
And this time of year, they have a lot of, really cool little things they do for October.
I would imagine, if you're Sleepy Hollow, I mean, take that as it's worth.
Right. So they have a website, and it's just visit sleepyhollow.com.
It's a tongue twister.
Yep. Visit sleepyhollow.com, and you can find out all the events. I mean, they've got everything there. But the things that I was seeing is they have this, so like the Cirque du Soleil things they have, for different things and different, cities and countries and stuff. But they have one for Sleepy Hollow.
That's
so
cool.
It kind of focuses on the horsemen and all that stuff, and I thought that was really cool. I would love to go see that.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
So I think that's probably here pretty soon, getting ready to end. So if you're in that area, or if you're planning to go to that area, if you want to take a really quick trip, you might still be able to get tickets for that. And then they also have a haunted house.
Okay.
Which looked kind of interesting. I couldn't get a lot of information on it, but it's supposed to be an immersive experience concerning the Headless Horseman.
Ooh.
So that could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But could kind of be kind of scary too.
If it's immersive, I mean, I would imagine maybe there's somebody on a horse, that...
Yeah, well, it can't. Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah.
In a house though, that'd be hard to do. I don't know. Unless they've got, places outside. I don't know.
Right.
So the website for that is thehorsemanhauntedhouse.com.
Yep.
You can go check that out. But it's a bucket list. Some year near Halloween, I want to go to Sleepy Hollow.
Maybe we could do a show from there,
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd really like to do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of special shows and things coming up in the future.
Very soon.
Very, very soon. We are going to have a live event. Now, this live event has absolutely nothing to do with the Headless Horseman. This is going to be, so here on the 2nd of November, we're going to be doing a live stream with two very close friends of the show. I said friends this time.
You did. You pluralized it.
Yeah, with our friends Eric and Michelle, and they're from, or Eric and Michelle Connor, their complete name. They're from We Believe to You, which is a podcast, and we've done an interview with them, and they've interviewed us. But great people. But we're going to be doing a live stream with them, and we're going to be talking about Dia de los Muertos, or in English, Day of the Dead. And what that's basically going to be is kind of a chance for you, the listener or the watcher, however we're coming to you, where you can maybe even get involved. You know, you can email us with the I think we're going to do the title as Day of the Dead, right? Subject line.
So on the subject line, put Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
At info@gxparanormal.com.
Yep. And then in addition to that, and this will be in the links on this video, in the description, rather, I should say, all the links and information will be there, but you'll also have a chance to call in. So it'll be a live call-in. Now, you can choose whether you want your face on video or not. And sometimes a debate whether mine should be on there. But if you feel like you don't want to be on it, you don't have to be. You can just not have a camera, but you can speak to us live, which could be a lot of fun. And I guess at worst, you could just do the live chat, but that'll be a little more difficult because, you know, it's going to be hard to chat an entire experience in the chat. So really what you're going to be talking to us about is an experience in which a loved one has, you know, come back and spoken to you from beyond, or, you know, somebody that you care about. And the whole part of Day of the Dead is, for one day, the veil between the living and the dead, you know, depending on how you look at it, thins or gets removed, or it makes it to where, you know, loved ones can reach out. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a Disney or whatever movie, Coco, you know, that explains a bit of it. But yeah, we're going to have a great live event. I think we're going to have a really good time. So yeah, the link's already up. So yeah, we look forward to having people show up. If not, you know, it'll be a great video for you guys to check out later.
And if you want to just email us your story, you do not have to submit your name.
No. Yep.
We can read those stories on air, and we're going to share our own. And I'm sure Michelle and Eric have their own that they want to share, to get it kind of kick-started.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to hear your stories,
For
because most people have that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of a loved one reaching out. And I think, you know, I think it's good to share that we're not the only ones, you know, on the planet that experience something like that. And I think it helps the grieving process as well.
Absolutely.
To know that they're still there. So even if it's a sounding board for you, if you feel like there's no one else that you can talk to about your experience, or your family doesn't believe you, we're here to listen, because we believe you.
That's right.
And Eric and Michelle, they do too.
Believe, yeah.
We believe.
We
Do
believe,
you?
do
That's
you.
the title of their show. So
Absolutely.
we'd love to have you. Once again, it's on Thursday, November 2nd at 7 p.m. That's Central Standard Time.
Yep.
And it will be on YouTube. And I think it's self-explanatory as far as links and stuff on there. If there's anything you want to tell them about that.
Well, again, it'll all be in the description, the links and everything. But yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just, if you're used to YouTube, obviously you're watching this, so you're somewhat used to it. But it'll just be a link that you click, no different than this one. And only difference will be live and direct instead of a recorded version. So, and it's interactive. So,
and you do not have to be a subscriber.
No, you do not
To join in.
It would be nice.
Yeah, we'd love for you to subscribe. But you don't have to do that to join in. So
yep. No exclusivity. Everybody can join. So, I mean, other than that.
Well, what is your opinion of the Dullahan?
Well,
where are you at with him?
I think it's a great story. I think that, you know, with any of these mythologies and with any of these stories, like I said before, there's always some monochrome of truth. Similar to the Scottish warrior, the Scottish guy who gets his
Owen the Headless.
You know, gets the top of his head lopped off. That clinically can happen for a few minutes and he dies. That makes sense. So
yeah. Adrenaline's pumping.
Right. The body is still, you know, getting signals that were already there. So I guess I can see that.
I could see that as a ghost, people seeing him.
Sure.
If he was a real man and that whole thing happened.
Absolutely.
I could very much so see that. Yeah.
But as far as, you know, the classic, I think it's just a great tale. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't personally believe that that's the case. I don't think that it's based in any real form that's shown up today, but I could be wrong. I mean, again, part of this show is having our minds opened, and, you know, again, we've already told anybody to let us know if they've seen something, but at this particular point, I don't think so.
Okay.
How about yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning more that way,
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many mythical stories that come from the Celtic, Isles. But I feel like there's a basis of truth there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What it originated as, I mean, we, gave you kind of the history of that, and I feel like it's more of a, like a tale.
Yeah.
Obviously. But, that's another thing that we haven't really spoke about, because I'm still on the fence of whether I believe this or not. But, there's a lot of paranormal investigators now that they've done it for so long, and they've gone into these homes, that they say that the more that you believe in something,
Mm-hmm.
you can manifest that thing that you believe in.
Yep.
So could it be that? Do so many people now believe, maybe even in Ireland? I mean, I don't know what the consensus is there for believing in this Dullahan still. But could they all believe it so strongly that now it is something
Like
that
a mass
appears?
hysteria, and then it manifested it.
Like maybe, you've got a family member that is actively dying,
Mm-hmm.
on their deathbed, and they see something or they hear something. I mean, it could be coming from people that are actively dying, and they think that they're seeing, we don't know. I mean, I don't want to completely discount it, but I'm also not all the way there with that yet either. I think I'd love to be proven wrong, actually.
And I'd love for you to be proven wrong, but it'd scare the crap out of me if something like that.
Well, the thing is, what I was reading, it's not necessarily, he doesn't actually kill them.
Oh, I thought he did.
No.
I don't see.
Now,
movies.
if you look at him,
oh yeah, that's right.
Right. And the movie thing has turned him into coming and killing people. But from most of the stuff I read is he wasn't really responsible for killing the person. He was responsible for coming to get their soul. So it's almost like relatable to like the Grim Reaper or like the Banshee, because they never actually do something to the actual person.
Okay.
They're just responsible. That person's already gonna die, or whatever entity needs their soul, and they come and take them. But some stories, he comes and kills them and takes them. But I think that's more maybe Hollywoodized, or
it sounds like it.
That's a modern take.
Okay.
But when you go back to the history, it talks about, the being, the sacrificial thing, and it was a decapitation type thing. But I think that's just lore mixed with other things, possibly. But most of what I was reading is they said, no, he doesn't actually kill the person.
Okay. Well,
but the movie,
right? Yeah.
He's been sent out by someone to kill. He chops off their head, takes their head with him. So that I think, and with the Washington Irving book, or the short story, I should say, he rises from Halloween to find his own head.
So he doesn't currently have his head.
Now, I've never read it, and I wanted to read it before we did this episode, so I don't know for sure if he kills. He must kill in the book, I'm guessing.
He would have to, yeah.
But I don't think that the original story was that. I think he just showed up on the doorstep. He called the name of the person, and they had to go with him. That's what made him so scary, because you're not getting out of it.
No, it didn't sound like it.
So I think there's different takes. I think there's, some people say he does decapitate them, some don't. He just shows up. You have to go with him. So there's different stories.
Okay. No, yeah.
But there's a consensus that he is scary as hell.
Yeah.
And that he comes riding on the black horse, and you don't dare look at him.
Yep.
But he's not supposed to really take you unless he's there for you.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about the buckets of blood and the the whip in the eyes and stuff. I think that stuff kind of came a little bit later.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think that was bolted on to scare.
So that's why I say that part of it, no. I'm not on that horse. Let's say that. I was going to say on that train. I'm not on that horse. But I could see where if it was like a spirit that came and called out their name, and he, was almost like a Grim Reaper to take them to the other side. That's more believable to me than all this other stuff.
Agreed.
Like the Hollywoodized part of it.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
No,
But I do. If you're from Ireland, or live in Ireland, have grandparents in Ireland, have stories passed down, I do want to know. I would love to hear your stories.
Yeah, hit us up, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, hit us up on live. Make sure you check us out.
And happy Halloween to everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Yep.
Have fun out there. Be safe. Eat all the candy corn you can.
Or throw it in the trash. And eat a Reese's peanut butter cup.
I'll eat that too. Anyway, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.